Get ready. Hold tight. It's
Hold on to your hats, boys.
Libos.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Wednesday Week.
A little bit older than you.
I'm not touching this topic. I'm not touching it.
Yeah. I think we can go there and get a positive result.
I want to go.
If we play a night game, he has to turn the bloodlines on.
How poor do we have to be before his half over? How much blood from the stone does he have to get?
The Wednesday Week.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to a very special episode of the Wednesday Week. Hello from the other side edition. My name's Dan Fudge, and tonight we're talking about the upcoming trip. Well, we're not going anywhere, but we're at home. But it's going to be a trip for the guys up the road because there's no trams as we talk about the upcoming Leeds fixture on Friday night in. The unpopularity of that intro, Gerry, is it's like crack to me.
Very slick. It's very slick.
Oh yeah, I felt it. It felt good, that one. Now, Gerry, welcome to the show. You're formerly of the LS11 podcast, the Leeds United podcast, which I believe has taken a brief hiatus because everybody gets too busy and life gets in the way. I know that feeling, but appreciate your time on the show. Now, local derby coming up this Friday. Before we get into that, why don't we talk about your expectations and how you felt after last season and the way that went, and then where you feel like you should or feel, or are you equipped to try and recreate it, but a little bit better this time round? I mean, how do you feel?
Yeah, well, this time last year we were we'd been relegated, new owners coming in, new manager, and we were way behind the curve as far as getting players in, and we did, but we missed a month. The first month of the season was a bit of a write-off. We met you guys and we drew 0-0, if you remember, and with a couple of draws. I think it was September we won, and then Ipswich and Leicester went on a mad run, and then we got to Christmas and we went on a mad run, and between January and March we made up 17 points. The international break came in March, and since then we've only won 3 games, and we got to Wembley, and there's 3 things that are sure things in life: death, taxes, and Leeds don't turn up at Wembley. And we never failed again. Take out the Charity Shield, Alan Clark's the last guy to score for Leeds at Wembley, and that's scary. And we were down, but we thought, well, the owners are in the San Francisco 49ers, and they said, right, we're up to speed. We're not standing still, and we're ready to go. And here we sit, 2 games in, coming into our third, well, 3 if you count the Carabao Cup, and we've sold crown jewels really. Somerville's gone. Archie Gray, who's one of the best, who will be in the England squad before the end of the year. I think he's one of the best talents I've seen for years. And Georgie Rutter, who went the other day. Not unexpected, I suppose, but it's the timing. And we've not bought a player for a month. We brought 3 players in. Joe Rodon, who was on loan with us last year, was excellent. Bought him in from Spurs, centre half. Jayden Bogle's come in at right back. Had a bit of a iffy start, and Joe Rothwell, who's in on loan from I think Bournemouth. He was at Southampton last year. So the Leeds fans were not happy. We played Middlesbrough last week in the Cup, and it was dreadful. I have to say, it was dreadful. We put in 8 changes, but 8 players who were experienced, and it wasn't good. And then the Georgie Rutter news. So we're at the moment, we're desperate. We need to sign players. We've got a very small squad. We've got a squad of 19. We've got a squad of 18 and Pat Bamford, but we've got a squad of 19, and that's a bit unfair on Pat. And we're desperate, and there's 2 week and a half left, and we're saying to the 49ers, okay, you guys said you do deals in your sleep. Well, you're in a coma at the moment. Get your arses in gear, and we need to get some players in, because at the moment we've had 2 draws, a mad game against Portsmouth, 3-3. You know, we had 6 touches in our box. We hit the post 3 times in the first minute, and then the worst game I've probably seen. I think I was playing solitaire at the end of it. It's 0-0 against West Brom. The worst game I've seen. And then I look at you guys and think, you're madder than us. You know, 4-0, my God, what's happening? I know it was Wayne Rooney. And then I look and suddenly go, 4-0. Oh, what's happening? So I watched back the highlights. that's so championshipy, all our results, isn't it? So, you know, I'd be interested to find out what you guys think of yourselves, because your manager, great hair, by the way, and I'm not one to talk about hair. He's got lovely hair, and you know, you've got one of those strikers, Windass, who's championship. He's like Naki Wells, Billy Sharp. They're always the ones who score against you and you don't like. No, I don't mean. It's just in the throes of football. So I've been looking through your team, and there's always a chance. I don't recognise the load of players. I like your new signing Valerie, because there's loads of puns could be there. Yeah.
Yep.
Why don't you home again? All that. And you know, you've obviously got Jamal Lowe you've signed, and you know, it's this game could go either way. Really, at that time of the season, it's a local derby. You're up for it against us. We want to win away. We need the points, and it's already a season-defining game. Not, but you know, it's where it goes, isn't it?
It's always a feisty affair between Sheffield Wednesday and Leeds. I must admit. I remember a really good 2-2 draw back in the Premier League days a long time ago. I think Andy Booth scored that day, and I ended up losing my mind a little bit. But you know, the Leeds game and local derbies in general, right? You know, my podcast colleague Ash last year was on a show with a Leeds fan called Joe Wayman. And they had a Thursday night show, and there was Hull, Rotherham, Sheffield Wednesday. It had, like, you know, Huddersfield. They had all the Yorkshire teams in there. Yeah. And you know, obviously, as Huddersfield and Rotherham have fallen away, they've maintained it this season. So I'm glad they have. But there's an element of a local derby where you kind of don't need them. You know what I mean? I want to concentrate on a decent league campaign. I don't want the distraction of it being a local derby and it being a feisty affair and all the rest of it. And this year we've got Sheffield United obviously in the league as well. Yeah. And I'd just rather get on with it. I'd just rather play, you know, random teams like Millwall every week or West Brom or somebody I don't really have any affinity with, any knowledge of whatsoever. Yeah. So in terms of getting to Wembley, like, you know, we had Carlos Carvalho in charge when our chairman first came in, and we had two playoff finishing seasons, you know, really good. And to have a third bite at a cherry, I feel is just too much to try and lift those players up. I feel like you go, guys, can we do that again? That's a really difficult mental block, a mental obstacle to get over. Do you feel like you're going to have any of that mental obstacle, or do you feel like I love the way you keep saying we're getting onto the 49ers, by the way, of some players. I love the idea of George Kittle playing in midfield or something like that. You know what I mean? Brandon Ayuk running down the wheel. I enjoy that.
We need to get a kicker in. Yeah, we're loaded. I think we've got the biggest income of transfers in the world of any team. The Red Bull have apparently put 50 million into us and parachute payments, but. Can we spend it, or have we got other debt from the previous regime? We don't. There's a bit of uncertainty about that, but obviously clubs are going to see us as a bit of a cash cow, and towards the end of the transfer window, are going to see us as you know, they're going to push the prices up. But there probably is a bit of a hangover. I must admit, I got over it pretty quick. I was more disappointed when Derby did us that time. That really hurt Frank Lampard and all the binocular stuff. But the thing that really hurt me most, because I live in Leicester and I'm Irish, so obviously that's why I support Leeds. The connection is there. I've been a Leeds fan since the Chelsea Cup final. That's how old I am, 1970. And coming back up the motorway, and I coming through Leicester, and there was a load of Leicester fans on the bridge with their banners, and that hurt. And other clubs Ipswich were singing about us, and I thought, we wouldn't be singing about you, you know, just enjoy. Other clubs just really want to see. And I know it's sometimes Schadenfreude and all that for other teams. Sometimes you want to see it bad, but we just need to win a game first of all, and we need to get some players in. And the mood, if we beat you guys on Friday night, we have a couple of signings in by the end of the week, the mood changes again. All of a sudden, this division, as you know, last year, was it 12, 13 games you didn't win for? And then at the end of the season, you went on an incredible run. And
I swear to God, Gerry, that 0-0 draw against you, the printout of the BBC Sport website will be on Chisco Munoz's office wall. That was his greatest achievement that he ever did in charge of Sheffield.
I forgot about him. Yeah,
Yeah.
I forgot about him.
Yeah.
That was a game again, early season, that we thought we should be winning this because you were on such a bad run. But at the end of the season, you were, that was incredible, and you got to safety easily, and that's how it goes. We went on our run, Ipswich, a freak season, 90 points to get us up any other year. So we got to accept that we had to lose players. We're hoping no more goals. Willie Nonto, who wanted away last year, there's no noise around that. Ampadu, who's been the snip of the transfer, when 7 million we paid for him, and he's Premier League class.
Ethan Ampadu. And who's the other kid that used to play for Bristol City as well? Eiling. Luke
Ayling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, these were players that I thought Leeds turned into absolute championship megastars. Like they were kind of they were good for Bristol City when they were there. Ironically, they both played there. But then when they signed for you guys, they seemed to step up an absolute level.
Yeah.
Watching Ayling run around as a Premier League player was he mixed it with the best of him, didn't he?
Yeah, when Ayling came in, it was under Gary Monk he came in, and he was solid. Then you add the magic ingredient of Bielsa and what he turned all that team into. I mean, there's a term, Bielsa widows. I think Chilean players, all the South American teams, and we're the same. We're Bielsa widows or widow or whatever. And the standard of football we saw during that. I think that's my phone, was it? Yeah, sorry about that. That's making a funny noise.
No worries at all.
The other half ringing me up. I said to her last week, great seeing you for the summer. I'm going to be busy for a bit. I'll try and
bye.
Yeah, what was that about Bielsa? Oh God, what he did, and Luke Ayling running up that wing, and he looked as though his legs were going a bit, and he went to Middlesbrough in the turn of the year, and then I think he had the most assists for I don't know if it was a player and he came on for Middlesbrough last week and got a fantastic reception, because you get players who come to your club and they just give everything, and he was excellent. So we probably could have done with him, I suppose, but we need to get bodies in. So it's important. We won't have anybody new in for Friday now. So
are you linked with anybody? I mean, there's not long left in the transfer window. I'm hoping you don't sign anybody between now and Friday. Some absolute world beater, but it might be a bit late in the day for our game. But are there any rumours knocking around? I mean, you mentioned Nonto earlier on.
Yeah,
and I did see some rumours about Ampadu. There's been rumours about those guys, but they're still Leeds players. Are you linked with anybody right now?
Yeah, there's nothing common. Those guys will be playing. We're linked to Benson, who's at Burnley, and the Jonathan Rowe thing. The Norwich player has been going on for weeks now, but Marseille are in the driving seat on that one. And then there's random players from the continent who everybody pretends to know who they are, and it's like Championship manager, isn't it? I remember signing him a Championship manager. So we're linked with a guy called Lubicic, who I'm hoping doesn't sign, because I have trouble with some pronunciations, and that would be a real struggle. Lubicic, he's a midfielder. So there's a few things. I think with Leeds and some of their transfer business, it just happens. Sometimes there's not rumours from them, and we've got a good recruitment. But come on, lads, need to get somebody in. What's it like for you guys? Have you had many in this summer?
Well, I think, in terms of re-signing loan players and players that have left and we've got back on a contract after trying to chat them up, I think we stand at 10/11, depending on how you look at it. So, there's a complete new look to Sheffield Wednesday, and we've only really had one outgoing in terms of Malik Wilkes going to Rotherham, and obviously Cameron Dawson as well went to Rotherham, but I say one outgoing when all of a sudden we signed a load of players and we thought, hang on, our wage budget's going to get us in some right trouble here, just like Leicester City last season. I mean, you know what I mean? So there's been a lot come in, and there's a complete new shape to the team now. Over the last 5 years, even with the Monk trumpet in Gary Monk and Darren Moore, and with Chisco Muno, and even with Danny Rule right now, there's been a point where we've tried to come away from this 5-3-2 with wingbacks 5-3-1-1 or however you want to say it in old money. We were trying to get away from that formation for a number of years, and sometimes it works, but there's always a point where we end up going back to it because we've got Marvin Johnson marauding down the left-hand side, who's the best crosser of the ball we have at the club. He doesn't play a flat back four fullback because he essentially, by his own admission, defend is not his greatest statistic. So there's been an element of that, and so we've come in with this completely new look in terms of only playing four at the back with a bit of a diamondy midfield. For I think you'd call it either 4-3-3 or 4-5-1, depending on where you put the attacking midfielders. But there's a new look to the way we play, and as you saw against Plymouth a week and a half ago, it worked an absolute treat. And then against Hull City, we had a mental start against them, and then 3 mistakes away from home, all by Josh Windass that you mentioned earlier. All of a sudden, we're 3-0 down at half time, and you're thinking, oh, what happened? The mental strength wasn't there after we went a goal down. And there's a statistic flying around just how poor we are when we're playing away from home and we go a goal down and trying to turn over. I mean, there's no wins and no draws. We've literally lost them all. That's the statistic, as it were. How do you feel like that will go on Friday? Is it a race to get the first goal, or
I think because we had a good start. I think when we did take the lead, I think we went on to win most of the games. One player I forgot to mention we are linked to is Jack Clark, who you obviously came across on Sunday, our old player. Whether 20 million will be spent or not, I don't know, but there's strong links there, and we'd have him back because he's a great player. But our problem this year has been the number 10 role, and Bruter was he was a number 10, but he was a free spirit, and we got Joel Perreault, who you remember used to play for Swansea, and he scored 15 goals last year, but don't necessarily know where he fits, and he played number 10 last week. It just didn't work. Dan James, you put the ball in front of him, he's probably the fastest player in the league. We need to service him a bit more, and we got a new striker, Matteo Joseph, up front, he was brilliant in pre-season, had a few run-outs last year. It's not really hit off from this year, but when he scores a goal, he's going to go on a run. He's a real talent, whether they give him enough time. And we have a strong enough bench. We have a couple of lone players who come back. Brendan Aronson, who was under Jesse Martin, American. He played in the Premier League, and as soon as we got relegated, he was off the next day. And Max Wuber, who was going to stay and fight, and he pissed off as well. But they're both back. And with sort of, I'm not one to boo players, but I'm standing there with my arms folded going, I'm very disappointed.
A slight disdain until they start playing well. A non-verbal protest is always the best way, right?
I'm just, but there was at West Brom last week, there was a lot of frustration in the crowd. People said Leeds fans were booing. There was frustration because we get the ball and it would go backwards and then end up with the keeper. I'm like, come on, get forward. But one of the stats that's the scariest with Leeds is, it's roughly about 189 corners since we scored from a corner. It goes way back to the Reevy days, I think. But no, it goes way back. And Gruev, our Bulgarian international, he's been taking the corners, and it's a matter of time. We're looking better on set pieces, and he had a free kick against Portsmouth, which just hit the post, was just moved. The keeper was nowhere. So these things, it's fine detail. If we'd beaten Portsmouth and drawn against West Brom and didn't sell Ruter, we're happy enough. But all these things condense in, and we're sort of not happy. So that's why going into this game, anything could happen. I really wouldn't. Early season and everything else, local derby, the whole shebang. I'm just always nervous, and especially against you lot. I still remember that 6-0 up there. You remember that one?
I haven't forgot it, Gerry. Every time you're talking, it's just like passing across my eyes like a ticker in old school.
The thing that I remember most about that game is our centre half, Jason Pearce, was wearing a shirt, and he must have got out of the shop. Still got the price tag on it. that was we had 2 new wingers started that day. Oh my God. That was one of those days. But I remember
it was about 10 years ago now, wasn't it? It was a significant amount of years ago. And since then we've had some right ding dong battles. I feel like we seem to draw a lot. in
Yeah.
terms of the two teams playing each other. There's a desire there to beat each other, and it kind of cancels it all out. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
going to trouble you for a score prediction now as well, Gerry. So you don't have to be gracious. You can say 5-0 if you want.
Yeah.
Given the way that our games have gone, it could be anything, right?
Yeah, well, my dad usually does predictions, and he consistently says 2-0, and I think it may be a 2-0 win for us. We got a 2-0 there last year. It was a tricky game last year. I think you had chances. I remember one just went wide, but we were more clinical and
oh, you were so much better than us on the day.
That's when we were on that run, and it's one of those games. I remember you had one that just. You got through, and the keeper, if I remember right, I think they had the keeper saved or just screwed wide, and that could, again, fine moments can change games. So everybody's going to be up for this because early season, but we're more relieved that you could beat 4-0 because you saw, and when you see start of the season, you go, oh look, they've won 5-0, they're going to be brilliant. And I think what we forget about other teams as well is like Burnley, and they're still going to lose players. Burnley Sanderberg's gone today. Is it? Where's he gone? It's 25 million. Is it Southampton? I can't remember, but he's gone, and there's a couple more players that will go as well. And so things can change. So squads on whenever it is, the first week in September will look much different than the teams will be playing this weekend. But we'll all go with hope, and you've got a chance, for the plucky underdogs, you've got a chance.
Gerry, I'm going to go with 4-0. Now, it could lose 4-0, we could win 4-0, but I feel like that seems to be the sensible option, if I'm honest. Now, in terms of expectations for the season, let's just finish out on this one. In terms of expectations for the season, I assume promotion candidates minimum for you guys, right? That's where the fans' expectation sits, right?
Yeah. Well, when we watched the friendly again, we played Valencia the week before the season starts. We were outstanding, and we were thinking, we got to win this now. We should win this league. And since then, we're getting relegated. So that's the way the mind goes. We got to be. It's you look at the teams, and Burnley and Sheffield United will be there. I think they'll be strong. There'll always be someone come through. Is it Sunderland? Is it Middlesbrough? Someone like that, and we'll be in the mix somewhere. And if it's playoffs again, I'm dreading it. I might just say, let's not bother going to Wembley. We know what happens. We'll just accept it. We got to win someday. So as it stands, if this squad isn't strengthened, I think we'll struggle to get in the playoffs. If we get the right signings in, we should be in the mix. So, but we know who taught Ipswich last year. Who taught Luton. Yourselves, even yourselves could be in there. You just never know.
I'm hoping that we're that team that you're referencing, that one that comes out of nowhere. I'm hoping that. So it's like, when the playoff final was Luton versus Coventry, you were like, I bet there was teams like Middlesbrough and West Brom and Preston going, who are you crashing our party, coming in here like this is our gig,
coming over here taking our playoffs? You have no right to be there. Off. Yeah, we can patronise you all you want. Well done and everything, but don't be beating us and stuff. Yeah,
coming in here, be taking points off us.
No.
Listen, Gerry, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for staying with me. Listen, just if there are any Leeds fans watching this, there is a tram issue. I believe that there was going to be some replacement bus service in Sheffield because there's some tram works happening, rail things in the UK, know what it's like, but they've decided there's not going to be any replacement bus services. So if you can find somewhere to park, drive in and drive out, because I don't think there's any beer on the away end anyway. So you know what I mean. Just drive in and leave. Don't worry about the public transport because it's a shambles.
I'm an Asda 27 minutes away, and it says it could be hilly, but it's the right side of town for the M1. So a nice stroll in, and it's always a good buzz around there. It's one of those grounds, and we'll hopefully we'll enjoy it, and hopefully you won't. But it's the way it goes, isn't it?
Let's see, Gerry. Thanks a lot, pal. In the meantime, thanks a lot for you lot listening. See you later.